Welcome to the infamous edition of the Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation done through creative storytelling of history's most infamous people. Now, let's meet our guest. Welcome to the podcast. Let's start at the absolute beginning, where the public narrative hasn't yet distorted who you were. When and where were you born, and what was your given name?
I was born Ricardo Leyva Munoz Ramirez on February 29th, 1960, in El Paso, Texas.
What was your hometown and home life like as a child?
Growing up in El Paso, life was difficult. My father was a man of intense, explosive rages, and my siblings and I often bore the brunt of his temper. I spent much of my childhood trying to find ways to escape that tension, even if it meant finding quiet places to hide away from the volatility inside our house.
Was there a story behind your name or a nickname that stuck with you?
Most people just called me Richie when I was young, though later the media attached a name to me that defined my existence to the world: the Night Stalker. It was a label that followed me everywhere.
What were you like as a child, and how many years of schooling did you actually attend?
I was a relatively quiet child, somewhat shy, though things shifted as I got older. I attended school, but as my personal struggles grew, including dealing with seizures, my focus drifted. My schooling didn't follow a straight path. Truant behaviors and a growing detachment from the world started to take over.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
It wasn't one single decision, but a slow descent. Spending time with my older cousin Miguel, who had returned from Vietnam, was pivotal. He showed me graphic photographs of violence and brutality he had witnessed. At the time, they were just stories and pictures, but they seeded a darkness in my mind that changed how I saw everything around me.
Let's talk about your early run-ins with the law. Before the world knew your name for your most infamous actions, what was your very first arrest or interaction with law enforcement, and what were the consequences?
I had various minor encounters with the authorities as a drifter and a thief, long before the major events. They were mostly for burglaries or car thefts, small infractions that were part of a life I lived on the fringes, moving through cities and taking what I wanted.
At what moment did you realize your name would never be forgotten?
It wasn't an instant realization, but a slow, creeping understanding as the media frenzy grew. When I saw the fear I was creating, when the whole of Southern California felt paralyzed, I knew I had made an impact that wouldn't just fade away.
Did fame make you more dangerous, or did it simply expose who you already were?
It didn't change me. It provided a stage for the impulses I already possessed. The attention was just an echo of the chaos I was already inflicting.
Who do you believe betrayed you first? A person, society, or your own instinct?
I don't look at it as betrayal. I made my own path. The world was simply an obstacle or a victim, and I operated by my own rules.
What was your most unique habit or a random fact about you that would surprise people?
I had a strange comfort in cemeteries, sometimes sleeping among the headstones to escape the noise and the anger of my father's home. It was quiet there, in a way the rest of the world never was.
What did the public never understand about the pressure you were under at the time?
The public saw only the monster, not the environment that shaped me. They saw the end result of a life spent in the shadows of violence, drug use, and a sense of detachment from humanity that had been building since I was a boy.
Did you have any known rivalries that defined your career?
My struggle was against everyone. Law enforcement, society, the people whose homes I entered, they were all just part of the same entity I was working against. There wasn't one specific person. It was a war against the structure of the world itself.
What personal battles were you fighting privately while the world was watching?
I was fighting my own mind, the seizures I'd suffered from since childhood, and a growing, insatiable urge to push further into the darkness. I felt like an outsider looking in, disconnected from everything normal people held dear.
What was your darkest moment, and was there ever a time you wanted to walk away from it all?
There was no walking away. Once I had crossed certain lines, there was no going back to a normal life. The darkness was all I had.
What truth was hardest to escape when you were alone at night?
the silence. Even when I was causing chaos, when the night was darkest, there was a profound sense of isolation that nothing, not the violence, not the attention, could truly fill.
When the law finally closed in, how exactly were you brought to justice? Walk me through the final arrest, the charges that ultimately stuck, and the legal outcome of your trials.
It ended in East Los Angeles in 1985. I was attempting to steal a car when the residents of the neighborhood recognized me, and they didn't just call the police, they fought back. I was beaten and held until the authorities arrived. The trial that followed was a massive undertaking, and in 1989, I was convicted of 13 counts of murder and sentenced to death.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you, and what part of your story has been exaggerated the most?
People love to speculate about why, about the satanic elements, and about who I was working with. The rumors of accomplices or grand, organized motives often miss the reality. It was often just me, driven by my own internal, erratic impulses.
What is the biggest misconception people have about your life?
That there was a logic to it that they could understand if they just studied me hard enough. People want to find a reason, a box to put me in, but the reality was far more senseless than they were comfortable admitting.
What would surprise people most about your ordinary human side?
That I had a life that people were drawn to even when I was at my worst. I received mail, I had connections, and I eventually married while on death row. Even in the deepest isolation, the human need for contact didn't just disappear.
When, where, and how did you pass away?
I passed away in June 2013 while on death row in California due to natural causes at a hospital.
Was your downfall caused more by your own flaws or by the world changing around you?
It was entirely my own doing. I lived by my own choices, and I accepted the consequences that came with them.
What past regrets did you carry with you to the end? If you could erase one decision from your life, would you? Or was it necessary to become who you were?
I don't look back with regret. Every step I took led exactly where I ended up. To change one thing would be to change who I was, and I never cared to be anyone else.
What scared you more? Getting caught? Losing power? Or being forgotten?
None of those things scared me. I existed in a state where I had already accepted that my time would be defined by the path I chose, regardless of how it ended.
When you look back now, do you see yourself as the villain, the hero, or something in between?
I see myself as someone who refused to conform. I never asked for the world's approval, and I never cared how it categorized me. I simply was.
And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, do better with the life you have been given and choose to do good in this life. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.